we're here heading up into the pine forest of Nordheim. You guys are seeking out these refugees that have been waylaid and captured by the Pineblood clan of goblins. Snark has gone ahead, and as you guys were approaching the forest, went up to a high peak and looked around. He was able to kind of discern perhaps that there was kind of two areas. To the south of the road was a thick forest that could easily hide a goblin clan, as well as there was a very large pine tree that was larger than the most on the north side. And so it kind of presented two potential locations that a goblin clan might gather. Peely beforehand was able to talk with some of the refugees, the recent travelers from Gilhelm, but unfortunately the refugees that got through didn't want to talk about it, and the goblins that he spoke to were quite off-put by his inquiries, and so they quickly gave him the stink eye and then ran off. So something like that. But you also have Jorgen, who entered into his dire form as a large honey badger and was able to sniff out some details beforehand. You found that the source of the goblin smell was coming from the north. You also felt that there was the scent of sweat and adrenaline and blood and fear, perhaps from a hunting party that was that's out and about. So from there, we can drop you guys right into the forest and present you guys with your first choice of how you want to proceed. So we're gonna take Fortune out of here. So yes, the forest within Nordheim is quite lush and quite thick. It is a predominant feature of the area. Everywhere you go, it's covered with leaves and dirt and all manner of vegetation as you travel through the road towards your desired destination. So, really quickly, I want to give you guys a single turn to discuss how you want to proceed as you approach. You feel that you're right on the verge of finding what you're looking for, or at least getting the first step in. So let's roll a d20 for initiative and start off with the turn order. Whoo, right off the bat.
Boy, I needed that.
All right. So it's going to be Snark, then Errolm, and then Jorgen, and finally Peely at the back. So Snark, leading us out, scouting ahead. How do you want to proceed, or what are you doing as you approach your destination?
I'm gonna put a charge in my ring, and I check with the guys to make sure that we are happy with our presumed northerly route. Is that correct?
You've kind of moved up to the northwest of Gray, and then you're starting to move more cardinally west, just along that road. You can step out and move around, but yeah.
As I do, I want to maintain a little bit of distance away from my friends. We're all still fairly close, but I want to have a little bit of a flanking position so they can be out of the way of anything that I need to do if I need to do it, and vice versa. We still can have some communication with each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent.
And that's me.
Perfect.
1001.
All right, Errol.
Errol smiles as he sees Snark kind of wander off, and he kind of touches his left forearm and chuckles and goes, "Why don't we just do this quiet and invisibly? I'm going to cast the hidden. As it happens, if it does happen, knock on wood. +4 to this.
Woo.
That'll do.
Nice, bingo.
Those of you who have seen any missive, actually see some reddish bands of like energy kind of swirl around his forearm as they just kind of like mist across the area, and we all kind of vanish from sight for 2 rounds.
So that's
Two rounds.
That's cast on yourself.
Everybody.
On everybody.
It reads allies, which most people typically give to me as well. I leave that to you, though, Ken.
That's totally fine.
It's as long
Near.
as we stay within near distance and until you are harmed or cast something else, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So everybody is nicely invisible. Take a hero coin, Errol.
I will do that.
All right, that brings to Jorgen.
Yeah, as I get back to the camp, I just want to make sure I let everybody know that I did go out and I saw this, I could smell blood and sweat and fear, and pretty sure there's a hunting party north of the road. Might have left a bit of a trail. I don't know if they'll find it, but there's goblins about. We might get prepared for a bit of a skirmish.
Definitely. Is there an action that you'd like to take?
My action will probably just be to hide.
Makes it real easy when you're invisible.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Okay, love it. All right, Peely.
Well, we're invisible. So, I think I'd like to pad my way through the undergrowth on the right side there.
Okay.
Just make sure that there's no one hiding in the bushes for us.
For sure. Give me a wisdom check.
Alrighty dighty. That's an 18.
No.
Nice.
There is nobody in the bushes as you're able to get up close with any of the bushes. Nothing's scared off from you. But you are the first to see what's up ahead. Specifically, at the far end of the trail, just around the bend, you see a broken wagon. All destroyed, strewn about, crates and bags and boxes also spread out throughout the trail. You can also see a large kind of array of footprints out on the ground, kind of all which ways and that's. So we're going to drop that timer there. We'll roll up another one. A timer of 3. Okay. All right, that brings us back to Snark.
Did he say what kind of footprints he sees?
From a distance, not yet. No. He's kind of just
okay, but
yeah.
some sort of trail or tracks off, and that's off to screen right.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
I think
that.
they're snake.
What was that?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
What was the question?
It was a bad joke.
Okay.
I said I thought it was snake footprints.
I will go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and risk stepping out. I will move toward the wagon to see what I see. Keeping my eyes peeled, I have become visible, and I will put another charge in the ring.
Okay. Give me a wisdom check.
Don't see much.
Not at the moment.
Looks like a wagon.
Yep, you do see a wagon. You do see the supplies, and you see the footprints. The footprints in particular, like it's not necessarily a trail. You see that there is a scuffle kind of a thing. Like there's footprints every direction, like boot prints, bare footprints, like all sorts of things smushed into the dirt.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. Errol.
Aram moves ahead, making sure his modus operandi while he has the hidden up is he tries to make sure everyone's within it as much as possible, particularly those in the front, as he's always found that super helpful. So as he slides ahead, I don't know if Snark goes invisible again or not. I leave that to you, Kane.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm gonna assume that if I pull away from the spell until you cast it again, that I stay visible.
That works for me. Whatever you guys would prefer.
Fair enough. Aram will close the distance as well, kind of squat down and take a look at these tracks, just trying to see, similar probably to what Snark was trying to do, numbers and types. I've heard mention of bear, I think, and footed, shod and non-shod feet, etc. So
Yeah, bear is in BARE.
yeah, got it. Well, that is not worth
It's a
anything.
helpful distinction.
Yes, that is a helpful distinction. So no bonus on the whiz?
I have +2, but that's an 11, so
Okay.
nothing.
Nothing at the moment.
Yeah.
It's okay. Your guys are just coming upon the scene and taking it all in before you can start crunching the numbers. Okay, Jorgen.
All right. While everybody's investigating, I'm probably going to try to keep my eyes peeled for behind us on the trail, make sure nothing's going to sneak up on us, ready my crossbow,
Nice.
just kind of be a lookout.
Okay. All right, we'll put if anything does sneak up, your first shot will be easy. Okay, excellent. And then if Jorgen is done, Peely, what would you like to do on this round?
Well, since the magic's about to wear off, I think I will try to hide in the supplies.
You want to hide in the supplies, or you're digging through the supplies?
I'm gonna hide in the supplies. I figure they've already been dug through.
Well,
If they haven't.
They have been dug
That-
through, but they are still there.
Yeah. Then I'm gonna, hide in a empty barrel or crate or something.
Okay. Perfect. We'll make any further stealth checks while you remain there easy as well.
All right.
Okay. All right. Timer ticks down. Again, there's still. It all seems to be quiet except for the creaking of the broken wood. There doesn't appear to be anybody directly nearby so far. You do hear, general wood noises, but as of right now, you're still just taking in this scene. So, Snark, what would you like
I
to
would
do?
like to please pull out the diamond spyglass and glass the trail and the roadside to either side of the tree line ahead of us to see if anything's coming the way we are going.
Okay.
Mod 21.
Very nice. Okay, so as you peer out the spyglass and you start looking around, an additional couple details stand out to you. The first is you do see that the trail itself leads, like all the footprints leads away up ahead, and more they kind of leave the road and start heading northward. But there's two things about the tracks that you finally kind of click in your head. The first is that in addition to the footprints, you actually see like the mark of wheels trailing away from the cart. It may be another wagon. They're odd. They're thicker than a wagon wheel. They're just not that natural line that you expect from a wagon. So you do see some wheels.
When I see it, do I recognize it as possibly being goblin technology?
Yes. Yes,
Cool.
you do. The second thing that you notice is that no matter where you look, despite the carnage of the wagon, there is not a single drop of blood.
Got it. That's my turn.
Okay,
I relate this to my compatriots.
very nice. All right, Erlm.
This will tick down at the end of his turn. This is the way with magics. Steps ahead, looks around. Seems a little early, I guess, to be invisible, and he's going to look back through the wagon, trying to see looking for like gunpowder shot, arrows, like signs of what the actual struggle that happened here. The mention of goblin tech brings that to his mind as well.
Okay, give me that wisdom check.
Oh boy,
Whew.
that is a 21.
Okay.
Nice.
Blackjack.
All right. So the first thing you do, give me. Do you want a D100 or do you want a D6 roll?
Oh, I like running. I like the D100, so let's do that.
All right, give me a D100 roll.
Woo.
All right, I don't have the Master Edition up on my computer with me, but I'm just going to read it out of the book. So it's 93 on the Shabby Loot. Elemental Elixir. You find this bottle that you can consume, and it allows you to add an elemental property to an action.
Nice.
Fancy.
Okay.
I will put that in my. I will take a look at it and swirl it for a second. Very nice.
Yes. In addition, as you dig around, you all of a sudden hear something in the back of the wagon scuffling about, as if it was staying still until you started rummaging, and now it's trying to scuffle away.
Well, I happen to have a spear, so I'm going to try to poke it with the non-pointy end of my spear.
All right, give me a dex.
Sure. 13.
13. All right. All of a sudden, you hear this yelp as this small little goblin pops out from the wagon, holding its rear, calling out, "That's smart."
I've been called worse things. Who are you?
No one of consequence. I found this here. Yeah.
You just happened into a broken down wagon. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'll look at Snark and just kind of gesture. Would you like to speak to your friend?
All right. Before we do, let's check in on Jorgen, see what he wants to do as he's watched this from afar. He's been keeping a keen eye on the rear, defending your backs, but he's also kept a nice tight watch. So Jorgen, how do you proceed with these turn of events?
I'm torn because part of me wants to approach and investigate, but I'm sensing just from the situation, based on what everyone's saying, there hasn't been any sign of an actual fight happening here. So it's kind of starting to feel like bait to me. And I'm thinking we might be springing a trap of some sort.
Hmm.
So, can I make some kind of roll to investigate, make sure we're not being watched?
Sure. Give me a wisdom roll. Okay.
That'd be
Enough.
16 modified.
Nice.
Very nice. So as you look around, you do the nature of the situation does kind of make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, as if like something about this is off. Something about this is slightly obscure. It doesn't seem like that attack. You get a sense that maybe you're not being watched, but goblins tend to be closer than you think, even though they're not necessarily waiting for that ambush, especially in Pineblood territory.
Well, I'll just hold my position.
Okay. All right. Peely. Safely secure in the barrel.
Hmm. I'll pop my head out, look at the goblin, and say, "We've been looking for you. The boss said, go get the others and tell them to come out. We've got news." And I'll use my thespian ability.
Okay, give me... So Thespian, remind me what that does.
People will believe your lies, regardless of how far-fetched they are, for D4 rounds?
For D4 rounds. Okay,
D4.
give me a D20 just to see, like, to what degree this goblin reacts to, and then give me a D4.
Okay. Yeah. Charisma to convince people time around.
Yeah, this isn't a pass or fail. This is a give me a number to respond with.
Righto. Let's see. That's a 12 plus 3. That's a 15.
Very nice. The first, so give me that D4 as well. But the first thing he does is he jumps, probably head high, from out of fright. He was not expecting a head, an elven head especially, to pop out of this barrel. Before he lands back on his rump and be like, I don't know, you know the boss? You know the chief?
Yeah, damn. This is important.
What's the news?
I'm not allowed to tell you.
You can see him starting to just panic a little bit as he starts worrying that something's going on more than what he expected to. He's like, everyone ran off, and I just stayed behind to eat my lunch.
You're getting your lunch. Get the boss.
Okay. So for him, he's like panicking back and forth, like and then he starts just like booking it. And you can hear him as he starts getting away. He's like, hey guys, wait for me. They have news.
Well, they definitely know we're coming now.
Okay.
Now is the time for the invisibility spell.
Agreed.
So now it's a Snark.
It does. I try to call after the little guy. I was like, hey, wait, Junior, slow down. You're among friends. My name is Snark, friend of many. Hopefully you. Come here. You are a Pineblood, right?
Okay, give me a charisma check to over. You have to beat at least a 15 to kind of.
Not quite.
Not quite. Is that still just a 9?
That is still just a 9.
Okay. Yeah, he's he hears you, but he's so overcome by like the urgency placed upon him by Peely that he's like,
That he just takes off.
yeah, he's like, come on, you guys, let's go. If there's news, let's go. And he calls back to you. He's like, no, you guys come on. You guys.
I will go ahead and I'm looking at the guys. Apparently, we're all visible now, I assume.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll move at least to that side of the road and just see if I see where he's headed.
Okay. So you can actually see that he's heading down, and as he gets a good like a distance off, you start to lose him a little bit between the trees, but eventually you actually hear other goblins start calling back, and you can actually see some of them poke their heads back up between the trees, and you see like a bit of smoke starting to puff up, and the clanking of machinery starting to get louder. You feel like the party will be back upon this here in a round.
Okay. I just I point these things out that I can see to the rest of the party.
Okay. All right, Errol.
Aram chuckles slightly. Well, I wasn't expecting that as the result, but okay. He glances around, looks at the others. Shall we just see if we can disappear?
Probably a good idea.
And that is just enough for a 12.
Very
Ooh.
nice. Okay, so let me just ask this real quick, Jorgen. Do you want to be close enough to them to be included here?
How well hidden do I feel like I am in this brush?
It would probably be a hard check for them to find you, but if you were invisible, it would be like not a chance. They wouldn't find you.
Then yeah, I probably want to be close enough to be caught in the spell.
Okay. All right. All right. So do you guys want to, Errol and Snark? Do you guys want to move anywhere with, or do you guys want to be standing in the middle of the road?
I think I will move to one side and the others, so we.
And at the extremes or relative extreme of near distance, I'll flank on the other side of the road. So
Okay.
we're one on each side, on either side of the wagon. That works.
Okay.
But still within near of each other.
Okay. All right. So Jorgen, what would you like to do? You've moved over, and that's fine. That's just kind of part of making sure you're in that magic. But what do you want to do on your turn?
In order to remain invisible, I need to stay near Arrow.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I want to try to get somewhere where I don't think a goblin's gonna bump into me accidentally while I'm invisible. Is there like some place I think I might stand that the terrain wouldn't really be hospitable to people passing through it too easily?
Sure. Yeah, you can just describe that spot and move yourself over there.
There's the wreckage of a wagon.
Well, there was a goblin in the wagon before, so I think they might be crawling all over that. But I'll try to find a place where, there's just like some rocks and branches and stuff, and I'll just kind of get into a space where I think I'll be out of the way so I can observe.
Got it. Okay. Excellent. All right, and then Peely.
All right. I am gonna do the very elfy thing of climb in a tree.
All right.
When I'm not invisible anymore, I would like to have the concealment of leafy branches.
Okay. So we'll make it a hard check if they dig around.
Great.
Okay. All right. So as you guys duck for cover, stay invisible, move to the side, you see the party approaching. And you see the little one that you guys saw earlier, kind of like jumping and clamoring. It's like, just this way. They said they have news for the boss. And you see this pack of probably about 15, 20 goblins kind of like walking around. But you also see this big machine pull up next to him, and there's a bunch of goblins sitting on top on this platform, and they're just chugging along. And you see one of them kind of like, Fig, is this you pulling our ears again? And they smack him upside the head. It's like, you've been drinking that leftover grog we don't bother with. We told you when we sacked this wagon that some of that stuff had gone bad. It's like, I know, I promise they were right here. They were right here. Okay, and he's gonna roll just a flat D20. So Peely, if they roll a 15 or higher, they spot you. Oh.
Come on.
Oh man.
And all of a sudden, one of them, this one here standing on the platform, looks up. He's just kind of like with his slingshot at the ready, peers up into this tree, and then he just barely catches a glimpse of like Peely's leg sticking out from one of the branches, and he's like, "Oi, hey, there's a foot up there." And the rest of them kind of like look up there. He's like, "Hey, there is, and there's more than just a foot. There's 2 feet, and a body, and an elf. There's a whole elf up there." And they start like, "Get down from here! What are you doing up there? Come down, or we'll hit you square between the eyes." A couple of them draw their bows and their slings. Okay. Have another timer. And then Fig's like, I told you, he was the one hiding in the barrel. I don't know how he got up there so fast. Okay, Snark.
I will
Step away from Aram in front of the war machine and become visible. And I will hold up a hand and say, "Hold, brothers. No need for violence. My name is Snark, friend of many. I'm here to find the Pinebloods."
The rest of them, unlike Fig, the little one, the rest of them don't react nearly as jumpy as they do. Like, they're on their guard. All of a sudden, some of them with their swords and their axes and their spears turn to see you, and they're like, "Goblin brother, sneaky as always, I see. You're not one of us. What you doing looking for the Pinebloods? You're not
Believe it or not,
you're not one
brother.
of them Thashum goblins, are you?"
I hail from Eradrum, and it's been a long time since my people came from the mainland. But I do seek the Pinebloods because the Pinebloods are a fierce force to be reckoned with. And believe it or not, I come from the Keep in Cray.
Oh, the Keep. We've heard of the Keep. That means your squirrely friend up there, he must be one of them too.
I'm
Else-
afraid so, but he's really quite good for his kind.
A goblin and an elf. Never thought I'd see the day, I guess.
You and me both, brother. But
They're just
we
two
do
of ya.
have not all these elves are created equal. I've learned.
Hmm. Is this you two?
For now, we're hoping that we have some friends on the way.
Oh, Trixie. Okay, give me a charisma check to see how.
Classic Snark fashion.
Yeah, they're willing to chat to you, but they're not at ease yet.
Understood.
Okay, Errol.
Oh Lord, do I do bad things or do I good things? Aram ponders for a moment as he's standing there, and it's like the inverse Back to the Future moment, right? As instead of like disappearing, he's starting to appear. Or maybe anyway. He stands there for a second and goes, "Should I do the thing?" He thinks about it and he goes, "No, I
If I can say one thing in meta, and I hope this is okay, Kate, is since Aram was very last minute to join our party and probably didn't get a chance to read the thread. One of Snark's hopes is that the Pinebloods, even though they've been up to some very bad things, can actually become allies and possibly useful to the keep against its enemies. And I would have discussed this with you, at least in passing around the campfire on the way down.
Understood. Cool. So before the spell ends, I think Errol's going to take a few steps like up this way. And as the spell fades, he's going to kind of walk down and go, "Hail, friends!" Try to play off his sudden appearance as though like he was just kind of coming down this like from back here somewhere.
All right, give me a charisma check.
Sure. I think I'm gonna hero coin that. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's a 10, so not so much better.
Yeah. All right. Now the goblins are again still on edge with all of you, just making your sudden appearances. Like, this is uncalled for. This is unnatural. You can see them clamoring. Some of them are whispering to the main goblin. You know, Fig is just excited to like, I told you, kind of a thing. But yeah, so they're still on edge and getting antsy a little.
So Aram will just kind of have his hand in his bag, and is waiting to pull out something. He's not going to do it yet. He has a witch's skull, which can lets out a terrifying scream. He doesn't want to pull it out quite yet because he Snark's previous statement. So he's waiting on if things turn bad.
Got it. Okay. All right, Jorgen.
All right. I take it the invisibility is going to fade.
Yes.
So I'm going to take a note from Errol, and I'm going to kind of just pretend that, not that I just arrived, but that I've been here and they haven't noticed me. So where I am, I'll be sitting there kind of retreated into my shell a bit. And as the invisibility starts to fade, I'll just speak up and I'll say to them, yeah, we've come from the keep and there's plenty more coming because we've grown interested in the Pinebloods. And, maybe we could all have a conversation and get to know each other.
Nice.
All right, give me that charisma roll.
That's just a 7.
Okay. All right, so after all of you have made your... Well, I guess not all of you. You guys are all just kind of... Again, he's looking around. You can see them starting to call out and be like, I think we're going to have to take them with us. Kind of a thing, but... We got one last chance. We got Peely. Peely's up in the tree. He got a slingshot squared in. If that slingshot had a laser, it'd be right there between his eyes. but it's a slingshot. It's not a sniper rifle.
Pinebloods, we bring you tidings of important news, and we hope that this show of goodwill will turn you to our side. For we have intelligence of movements against you. A mighty enemy wants to take this land for itself and oust you from these beautiful pines which you have so readily made your home.
Okay, excellent. Take a hero coin for that. But give me a hard charisma check. Each one of your friends missed their check, so
I know. It broke my heart.
you'll need to make up
Hard,
for it
well.
with a hard check.
It goes nothing. Well, let's a 10. Why don't I use that hero coin? Is that just a reroll, or can I add a d12?
You can add a d12 or reroll.
I'm gonna go with the odds of adding the d12.
Don't roll a
Good
1.
call.
Alright, we'll do. That's gonna be 10 plus 5. 15. Woohoo!
Nice.
Very nice.
Huzzah!
Okay. So the one that's been chattering, the biggest, kind of grumpiest looking one, his his name is Oz. Oz the Goblin. And he looks at you and he's like sneering and raising his goblin eyebrows. His ears are twitching as he looks at all of you, and he's like, "The chief has been thinking of the keep of late. I don't know of what enemy you speak of, and what manner of bad joke this party is. An elf in a tree, and a goblin and a human, and a turtle walk in the woods. Sounds like a bad joke, if I ever heard one. But if the lot of you can keep your hands and weapons to yourselves, if you can come quietly, I guess we can take you back to the tree."
Lead the way, friend.
As your humble servant.
Alright. And he's eyeing Jorgen and Erelm the most. Jorgen with his crossbow and Erelm with his hand in the bag. He knows adventurers. They're not to be trusted.
Aaron will lean against his spear and raise the other hand and just kind of wave at him.
Alright.
Jorgen will just kind of say, he'll, put the crossbow away and just walk with his staff and say, "I'm a Torton, actually, not a turtle." I can understand how you would get the two mixed up.
Like,
From my eyes, looking up at you, you great shelled giant. You look like a turtle. Alright. So they turn and start walking along. You've got essentially a round before you arrive at the tree. Let's see, but they're chugging quite along at a nice even pace. Fig kind of stands over near you guys, again gleaming and excited that he didn't have to get smacked too many times to be proven right. But additionally, you also notice that once you guys leave the road again, you actually see a pair of a man and a woman standing with a few other goblins. They seem to be traveled. A little, not worse for wear. They're not like hurt or anything, but you do see that they're kind of ragged. Ragged a little bit. Okay, so you guys have a round before you arrive at the tree. Snark, what do you want to do?
I'm gonna keep on smiling, keep on pace. I'm gonna move closer to Little Fig as I drop a charge in the ring. Yes. Drop another charge in the ring. There we go. And I just say, hey, buddy, do you know those people? And what's the deal with this wagon you guys got? I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, those people, them's Pinebloods. They're, that's Oz, that's Gauze, that's Dog, that's Gif and Goff and Jim and Jam. And he starts pointing to all the.
But I was gesturing to the two presumably humans or human and an elf.
Yeah, 2 humans.
Okay.
He's like, oh, them? I don't know them. Oz thinks they know something. He wants to bring him back to the chief and talk to them.
He's probably right. Where'd you get that wagon?
Oh, the clan built it. Helps us get through the woods faster. Little legs go slow. Big wagon goes fast.
Tell me about it. All right, that's my turn.
All right, Errol.
I'm in a bit of a pondering pickle. Realm will actually just kind of reach up and touch the end of his, as he's walking, just kind of make a couple of marks on his spear. I'm going to use the sharpening just to give it a little extra oomph, just in case things go sideways.
Nice. All right.
That's a 15. That'll do it.
Nice.
So that's a +2 to its effect. So.
Okay. That sounds good. And Jorgen.
If I could, I'll try and move up closer to the 2 humans. I don't want to do anything suspicious and conspiratorial, but I just want to try to get close enough to maybe speak with them.
Okay. What do you want to say?
Yeah, just want to ask. You two, was that your wagon back there?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Do these folks look like they might be refugees or merchants or just traveling?
Well, they do. They don't like they seem like they're traveling, but yeah, they were moving from Gilhelm to Grey.
Okay, yeah, I'll just ask them. What do you think the Pinebloods think you know?
They wanted to know what they wanted to know if we had any dealings with the Shoom, and we told them that before the Snowworks arrived, we would trade with the goblins, at the ports. We would, they'd come in on their boats, and we'd trade, and they when they found out that we dealt with the Shoom, they pulled us aside.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. The Shoon, these Pinebloods don't like those. If you're any friends of theirs, you're no friends of the Pinebloods.
I guess. Do you think they're gonna hurt us?
It's probably best if you just cooperate.
Okay, and you said you're from. We heard you guys were from the Keep. We've heard about the Keep in Gilhelm. You guys are here to save us, right?
at that, I'll just kind of back away from them. I don't want to tip my hand in front of the Pinebloods, so I'll leave that question unanswered.
Okay. All right. Peely.
Well, during this very nice walk, I'd like to study that wagon as closely as I can.
Okay.
To see if I can find any weak points on it.
Sure. Give me wisdom or intelligence.
Well, don't matter which. Oof, nope. Beats the hell out of 8.
You look at it and you're like, the mechanism and the structure of the whole thing is so goblin that it just doesn't make sense. Like, yes, it has an axle and it has brake, but like it's just all hodgepodge together in such a way you're surprised it's even functioning from your elven eyes.
Functioning by pure will of these.
Something like that.
They plead it works, so it works. Alright, well.
Okay.
That's me.
Perfect. Okay, so the timer drops down and you guys are going to be arriving at the tree in just a moment. You guys get along and Oz kind of leads on and calls out and makes sure that everyone stays in line as they question what's going on. But eventually they arrive in this tree area here, and it's just this massive pine tree with the roots all at the surface digging out through the underbrush, and it just rises and rises and breaks through the canopy above you. Everything sits in shade beneath it. And Oz and the rest of them turn around and they say, before we go any further, I need the lot of you to turn around and close your eyes.
That doesn't sound like a trustworthy act, friend.
Look. There's secrets here. And look, I'm bringing you to talk to the chief, but I don't trust you with our secrets. So I need you to turn around, close your eyes. You'll open them in just a second. Like I said, don't do any funny business. Nothing happens to you.
No funny business. Can I whiz check just to discern how I'm feeling about his integrity?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's couldn't possibly be qualified.
This Oz guy seems like a
Couldn't possibly be
guy.
He's a goblin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's the most legit goblin of all time.
All right, so does everybody turn around and close their eyes?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm gonna try and peek.
I would also like to attempt to peek. I'll say maybe instead of turning around, I just kind of withdraw into my shell a little bit and see if they'll buy that.
Okay, anybody who's going to peek, give a hard charisma check.
Or?
I was going to say potentially a dex. I was just trying to think through that, if a dex made sense. Do you guys think a dex makes sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so a hard dex or a hard charisma?
Gosh, we're all rolling. We're all gonna get so caught. No, they're just two of us. That's not that
Yeah,
bad.
there's pretty much no chance I can succeed on that.
Great, awesome. Let's do it.
Nice.
That's a 21.
Mine is just a 13.
Okay, you needed a 15. Okay, so Jorgen, before they do anything, they see you kind of like shifting around and they like smack you on the shell. It's like, no picking!
Hey, careful with the shell, man.
That's strike.
It's just,
Strike one.
I was just getting ready to turn around. You didn't give me a countdown.
That's strike one turtle. That's strike one.
Connected to his spine.
We're not playing here.
And I go ahead and turn around.
All right. Was there anybody else trying to peek?
Ely was successful.
Yep. So, as they're distracted by Jorgen, you're actually able to see that Oz goes over to one of the branches, and one of the roots are kind of like sticking out slightly differently, and he tugs on it, and all of a sudden the ground shifts, and a passageway between the roots open up. And then they say, all right, you can turn around. We're going to head down to see the chief. So we're trying to just move everybody. There's a lot of traveling, but eventually you guys come down beneath the roots of the tree, down around this path deep beneath the base of the tree, and you see the roots and everything digging around, and they park the wagon and they get off and they start trekking inside as you guys approach the bottom. Okay. Okay, give me an action, each of you. So Snark, what do you want to do as you are getting further and further into the Pineblood base? You're kind of past the point of no return, or at least approaching that point.
I am going to continue to stick fairly close to Fig and hope that I have some kind of goodwill with him. And I will put one more charge in the ring. There you go. And I will ask him, about Oz. I was like, is Oz the second in command to the big boss?
Oh, he's the hunting lead. He leads all the excursions out of the base and around. He maintains our territory. He's second in command, I guess you could say. I think he's more of like a, what you call him, like general. We don't have an army. General? Is that the word?
That sounds about right. And Snark gives him a weak smile and a thumbs up.
Okay.
That's me.
Errol.
Aram, as the group, he kind of staying to the back, kind of leaning on his spear, and he reaches out and touches like the root of this tree as we go down this path. I'm going to use Identify. He's real curious about this tree, and yeah, magic's his thing.
Okay.
That is a dirty 20.
Nice.
Dirty 20. Very nice. Yeah. So, where are you from exactly, Errol?
I had this written down somewhere. He is from. Double check. Where did I put it? He's actually he's from Gray. He is from, yeah.
Well, have you ever heard or read about a warden or the warden?
I believe I have, because we just came back from over where those people tend to be.
Yeah. So the warden is this great tree that's connecting the world, and there's one of them in Ire.
Right.
And you can sense that this tree is just as ancient and as connected. You feel that it's another warden, this species of tree, or this tree that kind of connects the world together.
He's slightly visibly shaken. And wipes his brow for a moment. Goes, I didn't think there was another one of these. But follows along after.
Okay. All right, Jorgen.
I want to, as we're making our way into this place to keep my eyes peeled to look around for any signs that they're holding people captive down here or anything like that.
Hmm. Okay, give me a whiz check.
Not great. That's a 9.
A 9. Yeah, so you have, as you approach, especially as you guys start entering into the cave, you see that there are signs, like there are like other refugees, there's other humans, but they don't seem to be captive.
They seem like they're free to come and go.
Yes.
Like maybe they joined the Pinebloods.
Potentially. That's just you're starting to get like as you're like looking for that kind of stuff. You start seeing notes that are like, I was looking for captives, but I'm seeing non-goblins, but they're not captive, and so it's just kind of these dissonance with what you were looking for and what you were seeing.
Okay, that'll end my turn as I mull that over.
Okay. All right,
Nice.
Peely.
I'd like to subtly pass a dagger to each of our human compatriots.
All right, that's going to be a hard dex check.
Okie Well, that does not succeed.
Unless somebody has a hero coin.
I think they're both spent.
Okay. As you guys approach with the dagger, Oz and the other well, not Oz exactly, but another goblin like grabs you by the wrist and has the dagger in his hands, like, Oz, I told you they couldn't be trusted. They were trying to give these two a dagger, a weapon. They promised no funny business.
This is not funny business, sir.
Okay, target's gone up to 15. Oz comes over and takes the dagger away from you, and he's like, "We've brought you to the great tree. You can't be trusted with." And he's like, "Until you leave, you need to have your hands bound."
I hold my hands out. Clasp me in honor.
Okay, and they'll quickly tie a goblin knot around both of your wrists. Anything having to do with your hands will be hard.
Okay.
Additionally, he's going to place two goblins like standing next to you, just to keep an eye on you. Okay. So moving forward, we're going to jump through the cave a little bit, and I'm going to describe what you see as you move along. Let me get rid of these guys, because I want to make sure to include Aram. Alright. So as you guys enter into this cave, you see that it's dug out between the roots and everything. But you see that there's just a load of other goblins. Like every which way you look, there's just more and more goblins kind of camped out. And you can see that the cave goes off in different directions. Like, this isn't everything, but this is just kind of where they take you. But additionally, you see other humans. standing by, chattering. They sit down, like drinking and eating with the goblins, discussing things, writing notes, coordinating on maps. You notice. It's kind of an odd sight, but additionally you see supplies and all sorts of different things in the cave as well. So while I'm doing that, do you guys? What's your reaction to this?
Snark. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, Snark is definitely concerned that things aren't turning out the way they had figured, but he is glad that he's at least managed to open a parlay, and that honestly the goblins are being pretty tolerant of them at this point. He does want to get closer to be at least able to observe these additional humans that are in league with the Pinebloods, but he's being cautious as he usually is, and he's particularly making sure that he's very aware of their path and their exit if things turn south. And doing that, I'm going to put my final charge in the ring.
Okay. All right.
So I'm at plus 25 and I'm topped out.
Okay, very nice. All right. So anybody else's reaction to this as Oz leads you through this tunnel?
It seems to be encouraging. Are the humans that are here, are they wearing any of the emblems or sort of markings of any kind that the Pinebloods seem to wear?
Give me a wisdom check, an easy one. Ooh, very nice.
Very nice.
What kind of symbol do you think they're all sharing?
I mean, I assume the Pinebloods would have some type of icon or something to recognize each other. It might be a pattern of clothing or a color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can imagine it's something to like green
like
and
a
yellow.
light...
Or what? Sorry, what was you gonna say?
You know how a pineberry is like this real pale blue?
Yeah.
I thought maybe something like that.
Nice. Yeah, we can say that. So you can see that each one of the Pinebloods has like probably some like face paint or like a tattoo that's in that pale blue, but you see that like the humans all have like a single strip of fabric tied around like their wrist or their leg or along their belt that's in that same shade.
All right. Interesting.
All right, Jorgen and Aram.
Looking at the number of goblins and I guess Pineblood humans that are down here, this definitely doesn't look like a situation we want to try and fight our way out of to Jorgen. So I think at this point, what he wants to focus on is just figuring out if the people that are down here are the refugees that are missing, and if so, what convinced them to join up, and if they're in any danger or what they're planning or what's really going on in this situation.
Got it. Okay. Give me a wisdom check if you want to try something specific. Whew. Very nice.
Modified 23. And yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
Want to do a little talking, figure out. You said that there's people going over plans of some sort talking to each other, I kind of want to do a little bit of eavesdropping and see what I can overhear.
For sure. So you actually hear as you walk by, and some of them with the maps, you look at them and it's actually a detailed, like, various versions of the Shum. Like this, the Goblin City, the wall, the ports, the sea around it. They're talking about it, and you actually hear them kind of debating back and forth. It's like we can't get anywhere close to the wall. Not with our numbers. Our clan is too small. And it's like, but you can't go around on the sea. You've got Aphos and the elves. Like, they're guarding that water. And even if you were to get inside, they've got technology. They've got more gunpowder than we have. They have everything that we just don't have what we need yet. And you can see the humans are like back and forth. The goblins are like, let's do this. The humans are like, hold on, let's think about this. It's like this back and forth as they're discussing somehow getting into the Shum.
Like they're trying to plot a raiding party.
Something like that, yeah.
Like a sea assault.
Yeah, if like they can't go through the wall, they thought maybe we'll go by the ocean, but then you have to deal with the elves, and it's like which is the great, pick your poison. Do you risk the sea battle with the elves, or do you go against the wall?
Do I get any insight on the humans, if they are the missing refugees, or if these might just be bandits or something?
You get the impression that these were refugees.
Nice.
So I definitely want to, if there's a moment, try and pass that information along to my allies.
Okay. Oh, definitely. And finally, Errol.
Errol, he's taking it all in. He's standing back. It's been a while since he's been like in a situation like this of late. Last dungeon and area like this he was in was pretty empty. So he's kind of enjoying the din of it. He's making notes of like the maps he's seen, and he's like, well, I have a bag of maps. No, they don't need my maps. Mostly he's just kind of watching and just trying to see, like, he's been given information like everyone else has been, like, looking for the refugees and so on, but said he's kind of counting goblins. He's not had a lot of experience with them, and he's just kind of like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Man, they got a lot of goblins. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's trying to get in his head, like, he's pretty sure he can do a doorway out of here. He wants to also make sure if he needed to, he could get back here. So that's kind of what he's concentrating on right now.
Got it. All right. Well, give me a wisdom or an intelligence roll to see if you can get I'll give you an accurate number if you pass of the number of goblins in this den.
Oh my god! I think it's the way I'm going to go for this. That is a 10. So close so far.
So the closest you can get is they're like maybe 100, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less, but you're like 100. Okay. So as you guys finally get to the back end, you actually start noticing that in addition to the root, you see this large snake skeleton churning through as if it had died in this den. And it's now decomposed. But at the very head, sitting in the mouth of the snake, is this goblin dressed in much more finery, not necessarily like fine clothes, but much more ornamental, jewel, robes, crown, feathers, things like that. And Oz kind of kneels before Iraz, the Pine Chief of the Pineblood clan. And he stands up and welcomes, Oz back from a successful hunt, brings us much needed information, as well as adventurers of the keep, I hear. Interesting. I have been thinking of the keep of late. But please be patient with me. I have guests to attend to for a moment. And he turns to the man and the woman, and they're sweating bullets. they're definitely like nervous as all get out. And he looks to them and he says, "Don't be afraid. All I seek is information. You, Oz here, found out that you were," and he looks to Oz. He's like, "Shipping. They shipped to the Shum, sir." And he turns to him. You dealt with their boats and their comings and goings. That is interesting indeed. Perhaps we can help one another, and perhaps you can tell me what you know. And you can see the man and the woman starting to fidget a little bit. So they're gonna roll. If it's a skull, they're gonna try to run, and if it's blank, they're gonna give them the information they want. Does somebody want to roll that for me?
I did advise them to cooperate.
Okay, then how about we'll make it a D6, and we'll do a 1, 2, they try to run, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6 is they stay. Why don't you give me that roll, Jorgen? Okay, they look to you, Jorgen, for a moment, and you kind of slowly nod your head to reassure them, and they look back to Iraz, and they said, Yes, we can tell you what we know. We can tell you about their ships and their comings and goings." And they're like, "Excellent. And he looks to another goblin and is like, "Why don't you go and report your findings to some of my compatriots?" And they leave the chamber together. All right. Then he looks to you, adventurers. He wants to talk to each of you a little. He says, "My friends, the keep. In the center of Grey is a unassuming castle of power, where the greatest, the grandest, the most powerful beings in the land gather and plot how they can interfere and cause mischief throughout the land. Preventing evil, yes, but getting in the way to some. They are a wild card, to say the least, in this world. Would you not agree?"
Snark will approach and bow deeply and reverently, and he says, "Sir, I would agree. My name is Snark, friend of many. I come from the Keep, and I hope to be yours. The Pinebloods are mighty. The Keep knows this, and although they are, as you say, a wild card, and they can sometimes get in the way, they can also be powerful allies. And it is because of that we have come to talk with you, if you'll permit us."
Excellent. Yes. Allies indeed. I've been thinking of this of late, and how serendipitous for you all to be here to discuss this with me. Are you all here considering aligning yourselves with the Pinebloods?
We wish to understand your enterprise.
My enterprise? I thought for sure you would know of our strife. You know of Queen Knife, right?
We understand the outcast, right? So any good greenskin would. But what I mean to say is part of the reason the Keep may have, at certain points, been a thorn in your side is because with your appropriate craftiness, they may not understand what's going on. One hand is failing to wash the other.
Well said, I suppose. Well, perhaps I can enlighten you. Queen Knife is my niece, and she has an interesting idea of how to lead the goblins and our goblin way. In favor of finding her way amongst the world, she's willing to sacrifice a goblin way of life, our very culture. She seeks to join the ranks of humans and elves and turtles, I suppose, newcomers to this world, but at the cost of losing everything that makes goblins goblins. You all assume that it's nothing but killing and mischief, but there behind the wall in the Shum is a culture rich and deep in history that none of you will ever truly understand except for perhaps a few. Looking at you, Snark. And so I say this, plain and simple. We seek the keep to join with the Pinebloods and the other outcasts who feel that the culture of the goblins is worth saving. Join with us, help us overthrow my niece, and reclaim the Shum for the goblins and the way of life that we've had for centuries. Do you agree? And you can see at this point there is a definite yes or no that he is looking for.
Snark throws up his hands and says, I cannot agree, sir, because that is above my pay grade. But I can offer you this. With this parlay, with this understanding, with the keep's needs in mind, we would like to make a pact to see that both the keep's interests and yours are satisfied. I am the last one. I hail from Eradrim in the Kinder range, a place of desolation in the time of the dragon. I have seen my goblin culture utterly wrecked. I wish that on no other green-skinned brother. And I would like to see that your ideals are upheld, even if that takes some degree of negotiation and compromise.
He shakes his head and sighs. What say you? Looking to the others.
Aram kind of looks at the happenings around him and kind of shrugs. I claim to seek refugees who were gone missing. I find them here within your people, unharmed and living their life. As Snark said, it is above my pay grade to offer such tidings.
Again, shakes his
Brave
head.
and noble King Araz. As much as we may sympathize with the plight of your people living here beneath this enormous tree, the keep must maintain political neutrality unless we risk war against the Kingdom of Grey. We cannot make such mischief at your behest, whether we agree with your ideals or not. But we have impending and important news for your situation here, which is much more pressing than the war you seek to wage against your kin.
And what news is that? Again, you can see that as each of you have responded, his eyes and his brow kind of deepen, his furrow deepens, and his smile turns to a scowl.
I cannot share such intelligence with you unless our safety and the safety of these people that we have arrived with is guaranteed in some way. It would be foolish of me to throw the bone to the lion while in its den.
And yet, in the den you are.
Yes, but if you kill us all here, then you will never receive this important intelligence.
But it seems I have little need of your intelligence. The keep doesn't seem to be an ally to the Pinebloods.
Oh, poor mistaken King Arad. We could be such good friends. We just cannot wage war for you.
But it...
Is he using Whopper power at the current time, or is he just talking?
Heck yeah, I'll use Whopper power. We need to get out of here.
Alright, you're going to have to give me a hard charisma.
Oof. Well, wish I had a hero coin. Here goes the roll of the D20. Boom.
Ah,
That's a 13. That's not a hard. Don't know what I did to earn a hard.
You're in the middle of the den talking to the king, the chief, who doesn't want to hear, telling him things he doesn't want to hear.
King's gotta get used to hearing things that I want to hear. That's
Well, he looks to Jorgen for one final confirmation as. And
What does Jorgen know about the Keep's relationship with Athushan?
So we'll just say this. What you understand is that the Grey, King Henrik, and Queen Knife are friends. So there is a general alliance between King Henrik and Queen Knife. You do know that their intention is to help the goblins, but you do feel that, like they are Grey and the Shum are allies in a way, but you do know that what Iraz says is also true. Queen's Knife's approach to progressing the goblin standing in the world is at the cost of their culture, is at the cost of their history. So you see both truths.
The answer that Jorgen is going to give is, as a member of a displaced people, I can understand the pain of seeing your way of life be changed by the need to adapt. And I cannot speak for the entirety of the keep, for I'm not its ruler. However, I see no reason why we cannot come to an arrangement ourselves.
Is that so? For you see, you are in my home. Me and my kin have been most gracious to you and to those that we bring in and seek information. We seek to rebel against Queen Knife, and allowing you to leave risks the exposure of our plans.
From that, I gain the idea that you mean we must stay.
You must stay, or you must agree. And even at that point, he kind of like, without saying it, the goblins around them all have their hands like on their weapons.
Then, looking around, does it feel like one of my allies might have a plan on how we can get out of here, or do we just start lying?
Speak carefully. You guys can have a second if you guys want to discuss what you want to do.
it would be super cool if we don't have to fight, there are ways that we can mitigate it if we do have to fight. Aram should have a back doorway for us,
I do indeed.
but we've come so far, and I feel like Ira's, like you said, he's indulged us a lot, and he has, valid points. He's been fair. I just want to try to convince him of a way other than the complete annihilation of the Shum with the betrayal of Gray as the only option that he will accept. It would be great if we could figure out a way that didn't have to happen. And
Yes.
the one thing that we haven't thrown on the table is the fact that part of what would secure a good relationship with him and between the Pinebloods and Gray would be if they could be our allies against our stated enemies, the elves and the snow orcs.
Honestly, the leader here doesn't really seem like he's interested in any of furthering the keep's goals. Maybe somebody who has good charisma might be able to push that angle, but it feels more like they've got us surrounded. Everybody's moving in closer, and they're ready to pounce on us. So I think we kind of either need to get the jump on them, or they're going to get the jump on us.
I think I think Snark, you're right. I think there's an angle right here where we might try to turn it, pivot away from just ransacking and tossing Queen Knife out the window. Aram is not the guy who's going to ask that question and or get that information out, though. It's just, is there a diplomatic way to do it? I don't know. But I hope there is. I hope our fine bard.
What are we trying to find out?
But he's an elf with his hands tied, and we've seen how that's gone so far.
No.
I mean, I feel like it's like the dude already said that the keep is full of these really powerful people, and then he's gonna murder us because he doesn't like what we say, and then how long? Like, then his clock is ticking for the full weight of the keep to come crashing down on him in an act of retribution. Like, it's nonsensical.
Sorry.
I think this is all in private parlay still.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
Yeah, you're good.
No, and I think that's right. It's a tough call. I think we probably got to give one last push to see if we can swing to at least have him continue listening to us, before it goes south. We've got a lot of good intel already, but we still don't know all the pieces of the puzzle, I think.
I think
This can be a beginning, but this can't be like, you don't get to the end of a chess game in one move. So,
do Gerblins play chess? That's my question. I think
you can't even get to end game in checkers with one move.
I think the pitch that I as a player would think is maybe we try to pitch that we can get a parlay with the queen, maybe, and that the grievances of the outcasts could be heard. But I don't think. Yeah, I think getting them away from let's ransack the capital of our our former nation could be.
Yeah, even though it won't be as satisfying here, but like I said, what I would propose down the road, trying to think on my feet, is basically a two-state system. It's like, if you could have half of Thushum back without bloodshed, and goblins didn't have to die, and the goblins who wanted to follow the old ways would be in his territory, and the ones who wanted to embrace the new changes could be with his kin, Knife. That's a decent solution to offer him. I mean, otherwise it's going to be Death Nova. It's not going to be great.
Any other thoughts?
I think we just go for it and then react.
Okay. Snark sighs a little bit. He tries to look very earnest. He approaches the skull throne one more time, and he says, "Sorry, I asked one more time. I appreciate your indulgence. Like I said, come from a place where most of my kin are gone. My personal family is gone, and I hate to see goblin against goblin here or in the Shum. I would like to see if we can enlist your help and gain an alliance between the Pinebloods and the Keep in order that your goal of a Thushum that still preserves the old ways can be part of the future of all of Alfheim. And that begins with this first step of us being able to understand what it is that you want and to advocate for you back in Grey at the Keep."
And Iraz looks at you and says, "You of all people should understand that when brass comes to tacks, talk can only get us so far. Do you not think that I've talked with my niece? I wish that we could go farther, and I do hope that we can form an alliance between the two of us. But I can't help but feel that perhaps you hope to get more out of us than you'll give to us. I do wish that to happen, but..." And you can see that he's just kind of like pondering in his head, like he's just having this mental... He's weighing the scales between what you're saying.
Is there something that we could do for you that would prove our sincerity and allow your indulgence to the next step?
Okay, Snark, I'm going to give you this. Give me a normal charisma roll. And then
There we go.
your roll will decide where his thoughts will land.
Here we go.
Woo! Nice.
And he looks to you for a moment. You can see that just for a second he thinks about turning on you and pouncing and completing the ambush. But then he decides against it and he says, "I will present the Keep one opportunity to prove itself to the Pinebloods. I ask that the Keep present and address Queen Knife directly. Discover her disposition on the matter, and what is she willing to give, and then return and report it back to me."
I believe we would be willing to do so, sir.
And then you can see that as he's saying this, Oz turns to him and he's like, Sir, you can't truly be serious. You're just going to let them leave? Let them leave with what they know? Goes directly to Queen Knife? And Eros looks, and he's like, yes, it seems the only way, I suppose. And then Oz storms off in a huff. Okay. So at this point, Eros dismisses you, you all, to think. What do you guys do?
I think maybe speak to some of the humans in the space to see what brought them here and why they've stayed. We know there have been refugees coming and going, and we should try to figure out why'd y'all stick rather than move along. I guess would be my thought.
Yeah, go for it. Who do you want to talk to?
Oh, I'm gonna speak to these folks over here. He kind of wanders over.
Sure. So
Offers them a bit of ration he has, and says, "I just curious what's going on here. Seems to be a lot of going on, and we heard there were refugees moving from place to place, gotten ambushed, but what's going on?" Just seems very concerned and so on.
So they tell you the story about how each one of these refugees were displaced by the snow orcs. How they were run out of their own homes because...
Hold on, guys. I think I gotta duck out for a minute.
Okay, no worries. Was that Arom or is that Jorgen?
Not me. I think that was Philly.
Oh, that was Peely? Alright. Anyway, so they were just saying that they sympathized with the Pinebloods after hearing their tale because the snow orcs did the same thing to them. Ran them out of their homes, made them outcasts, took over. And so these refugees that had information that also sympathized, they stuck with them, and now they're kind of agents unto the Pinebloods who come and go with information for them.
Are you telling me that the Pinebloods have a spy network of humans?
Not like a spy network, more just like allies that come and go, but yes, in a very small sense.
Terrific.
Goblin sympathizers, really.
So the original mission is pretty much a wash at this point, right? The missing refugees are not really missing. They've gone incognito.
Yes. Thanks to some good parlay and diplomacy, you guys were able to find that out rather than just busting in and the like.
So, Aram, on hearing that, if you do wind up relating that to the rest of the group?
Yeah, sure. He has no trouble doing that. He'll, after they has his chat, he'll kind of come back and talk to the others kind of quietly. And basically, he's like, "We should go." Kind of shrugs a little.
It's probably so that is Oz gone now? Because
Yes.
he was the other loose cannon that I wanted to be able to reach out to, but if he's gone, he's gone. This makes sense because, like I said, if the refugees turned allies to the Pinebloods are are aligned against the snow orcs. If the Pinebloods are aligned against the snow orcs, Gray is aligned against the snow orcs, at least for now. But it would be really good if we could impress upon Eros that our goal is to, and I can, maybe I can tell him about the experience behind snow orc enemy lines that Snark had, and try to impress upon him that this is an important alliance that can further his goals, and it's what we want to propose and implement. Yeah. That we can back them in their efforts to push the snow orcs back and give more goblin territory in Nordheim.
Yeah, and I think one detail that you probably also get from the refugees that also kind of makes them more sympathetic to the Pinebloods versus just the Thashum is that the Thashum have not been helping with the snow orc problem.
Right. Because they're essentially kind of isolated and pinned down between elves and orcs, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, and they're so busy doing their own thing that they're not helping with the snow orcs. But that's, in their eyes, it's like they should be helping if they really were worth their salt in what they're saying of joining the greater community at Alfheim. They should be helping, but they're not.
When I share this plan with the group, if I have their general assent that that's a good thing to point out based on Erelm's intel, I try to get the attention of Eros one more time and present this to him as a proposal.
Okay.
And before you go and talk to Eros, Jorgen will probably just maybe say, like, an interesting angle might be if they took back, power from Queen Knife by force, the goblins would be greatly weakened, and the snow orcs are still going to be at full strength. Perhaps that's something to consider, not just going and attacking.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So give me one more charisma roll on that for Eros.
Okay. It's got to be flat, or can I modify it?
You can modify it if you'd like.
Plus 25.
Very nice. Take a hero coin for that, but yeah, so as you present that, he seems to be more, especially without Oz there on his side, he seems to be much more on board with that alliance. He still wants, he hopes that you guys will, if it came down to it, his ultimate hope is that you will stand with him rather than Queen Knife. That's his ultimate goal. Okay, so after you guys have been chatting, you guys are slowly making your way out. Each one of you give me a D6 roll for some goblin-specific loot as they hand it off to you.
Woohoo, goblin loot.
All right, so remember your number. So let's start with Snark. Give me a D100 roll.
6 and a 20.
6 and a 20. That's okay. We've already got one of those. So instead of granting you a 20, which is a chatty skull, which we've had before, and that is currently sunk in the Deadlands,
Good-ridden.
we're gonna swap it for a fire keg.
Thank you.
Okay, Errol, what number did you roll?
I got a 4.
All right. One of the goblins looks to you and gives you 2 bad eggs on a stick.
Nice.
They're essentially little grenades that do ultimate if you throw them right, but you can throw them up to double far thanks to the stick.
Awesome.
Okay. Then let's go with Jorgen.
I rolled a 3.
3. Another set of goblins gives you just 2 bad eggs without a stick. So they're just little grenades that are thrown just up to far. All right, and Peely. If he's back, I don't know if he's back.
I'm back. I didn't realize that I hadn't unmuted.
Oh, you're good.
So
What did you roll?
5.
5. All right. One of them hands you a signal horn. It's it's like the horn of Boromir. It's a goblin with the symbol of the Pinebloods on it that allows you to signal and up to a mile away.
Nice.
Fun.
Okay. All right. So you guys eventually make your way out of the Pinebloods cave and outside on the path outside of the tree. And as you kind of exit behind, walk behind you, the gate kind of stays open for a moment. And as you do, where is he? My guy. Okay, here he is. Up there. Goblin token. Where'd you go? We're gonna say this was Oz is standing there, sitting up next to you, waiting, sharpening his knife. And he comes in and looks to you, and with a scowl on his face, he kind of confronts you and calls you out. He's like, "You're not really gonna help us, are you?"
We really are going to try.
I don't know. I just can't be sure. And you can see that he's clearly nervous.
Oz, if you could have any future for the Pinebloods, what would you see? What would you want?
I would see us at the throne of the Shum. Our land back, our people back. Iraz on the throne. That's what I would see.
And yet, right now, your people are here. If you could have half of the Shum, would that be a good day?
There will always be the risk of our culture and our history being gone as long as Queen Knife sits upon a throne.
I couldn't agree more. And yet, back in your homeland, who better to say that it never is extinguished?
What were you going to say, Jorgen?
Oh, Jorgen was going to chime in and say there are worse allies to have than to keep. There are more enemies to the goblins than just the loss of culture. There are those who would see you exterminated for your lands. And those have made themselves enemies of the keep as well.
who are these enemies?
No orcs.
The orcs. The orcs are distracted with their gods and their work.
Distractions never last forever.
Maybe we're just the ones to help grab their attention again. Make them pay attention to what matters.
Perhaps, but perhaps.
Oz, you're going to realize that kings and queens do not keep a culture alive. The people keep the culture alive. You're looking the wrong direction. You're looking up when you should be looking down. Serve your people. Fill them with goblin culture. Build families, build homes, and your culture will never die.
I guess you're right. I must serve my people, no matter what it takes. And so what he does at this point is a little foolish on his part, but he stabs himself in the leg with the elven knife he took from Peely and calls for help. What do you guys do? You have one round to decide what to do.
Would I be able to use my regeneration spell on this goblin?
You could, definitely. Remove the
I'll
wound.
immediately
Also,
try to kill the wound.
cast doorway and go home. Either with or without this goblin. But I'd rather leave him here in one piece. Maybe without the knife.
Okay, let's
If
go.
someone wants to try and take the knife while I heal him,
All right, let's go with Jorgen first. Let's give you that attempt to heal.
what do I need to roll to do that?
That's a wisdom. Ooh, very nice.
Boom.
Yeah, 18 modified.
Very nice. Take a hero coin. As you do, like the wound that he's committed to himself to try to frame you guys, to try to turn and convince his chief that you guys can't be trusted, begins to heal under your magic. Very well done. All right, Snark, what do you want to do? Or Peely or Aram?
I'll just go ahead and grab the knife from him. Do a dex roll.
Yeah, go for it.
+4. Let me re-roll on a hero coin. That one hero coin I have.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh, just enough.
+4 is just enough. Man,
well done.
He's got a good grip.
Yeah. So you get the knife back from him. His evidence is gone. Peely, Aram, what do you want to do?
Aram will just smile at him and shake his head. And you wish to bring war upon your people. The snow orcs will be upon you. You will fight, and you will lose. We have tried to help you. Bring you with us and against the orcs. We go to speak to your distant queen to rally her aid. He spins his spear and just slices the air to his right, to his left, and casts doorway. But you can't see what's in front of you. And He kind of gestures to the other three. Let us
Nice.
home.
Very nice.
I hope I'm wrong, adventurer of the keep. But until then, I don't trust you. You see his tears come down his face. Peely, what do you do? Rounding out the session.
I'll take my knife back from Snark and cut the bonds on my wrists.
Okay.
Your dedication to your people is laudable. I wish you great success in your endeavors.
And then you guys all walk through the portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go through. Snark is the last one through. He just looks back at Oz and says, I don't trust you either, brother, but we're still friends. And he waves and gives him a thumbs up.
Okay. And back to the keep you go. Well done, you guys.
That was awesome.
I'm definitely thinking of that Diablo 2 sound effect.